Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending this roundtable, which is aimed at exploring the future of telecom sector and their infrastructures. Let me start by introducing our guest. So, Pietro Labriola, CEO of Telecom Italia, please come. Diego Galli, General Manager at Inwit. Grazie, Diego. And Federico Protto, CEO at Cellnex Italia. So before we start, let me congratulate to all of you. Since yesterday, you were appointed as chairman as ASTEL, the industry lobby for telecom sector. Diego and Federico also vice chairman, so congratulations for
in
this
Italy,
new role.
You cannot say the lobby for the industry because if not, the antitrust will for sure do something against us.
Association.
Association is much better.
Charity
institution. Charity institution. We are collecting money because
charity. Let's start from this. So, let's say the sector, not just in Italy, has faced troubled times. We have been discussing a lot these years about what's going on in the space, the intense competition. Yesterday, we had here Bruno Le Maire, the former French finance minister, which has shared with us his view, and I think the approach was quite interesting. He was talking about the need for Europe to move from a consumer-centric approach to a production approach. So what do you think is going on? We had a deal in the UK. We know that there are discussions ongoing in some countries like Italy and France. So what's your view on this topic?
I think that what was told yesterday by Bruno Le Maire is exactly what's happened in Europe. All the regulation was built to try to give a huge advantage to the consumer when our industry was made by mainly public concession. So it was a way to redistribute dividend, money, through different players, transferring part of the value to the customer. It was good until a certain point of time. Then the fact is that we were unable to understand that the things were changing because our company was no more making money based on network that was built several years before in a condition of monopolistic concession, but have to face a new challenge that was to build mobile network or fiber network. Now, differently from other sectors that from a business standpoint of view are quite similar, energy. You must do a lot of capex upfront, and then you must have a return on the investment. To guarantee this huge amount of capex, the regulation allowed to define the right return on the investment on that, defining a wholesale price that will guarantee the return on the investment. It allowed to the energy industry to go to the financial market and finance themselves in a safe and convenient way. In our case, this is not the case. If you have to talk about TIM, when we were vertically integrated with the fiber optic network, I have to invest 2 billion euro per year. I was going to the financial market explaining that we have to spend that money. And the question was, which is the guarantee that you will have a specific return on investment? Zero. So no one was financing the development of the network, creating an issue for all the industry. So now we have to start to change, and also what is happening in the market is also a sign, because I was reading that also BT is evaluating not the spin-off of Openreach, but the complete sale of operation, because you are dividing the market by two, the infrastructure and the service. On the infrastructure, what will happen is that you have to change in some way the rules, and so you have to guarantee the return on the investment to the player, because sometimes the competition on the infrastructure is complex, not always, but in some cases it's impossible. And you have to change also the approach on the retail. Exactly as happened in the energy sector, we should have a bill in which I have to report the wholesale price, and every time that you have an increase related to the inflation or whatever, you have to repass that cost to the customer. Now, this is a first area on which we have to work, but the other main point is the unbalanced regulation between the telco arena and all the other players that are in the surrounding of the telco that are no more separate business. If we talk about the OTT or the hyperscaler, it's very difficult to understand where the telco service ends and when the non-telco service starts. The most easy comparison is related to WhatsApp. Usually you use WhatsApp. This is a telco service, but it's not related to that. Now, it seems that by the end of 2025, there will be issued at the European level the new regolamento that will try to balance in a better way the rules. So if the two areas to be addressed are, on one side, the regulation and the antitrust. I mean, the market is not able to allow to have two infrastructure players. Always I'm talking about, don't be nervous, about fiber. But also, as a mobile player, it's impossible to consider that you can have in a country like Italy 4 or 5 mobile players. If you do an easy math, getting the amount of revenue of the 4 or 5 players and the amount of OPEX and CAPEX and putting all together, you don't have a profitable player. So you don't have one that is earning a lot of money and another one that is losing money. It's the overall industry that must be changed. The good signs are coming from the discussion in France about the move from 4 to 3, in Spain from 3.5 to 3, in UK what's happened between Vodafone and 3, but there are also other signs that are signs of rationality. In Germany, the fact that there was the renewal of the frequencies, de facto for free with some guarantee about the investment, is something that shows us the different countries are understanding that the telco industry is under pressure and something must be done. If we should have the time machine and we go back to 5 years ago, all the things that are happening or under discussion today could seem impossible. So I think that this is really a good sign. Okay. The other part is related to the unfair or unbalanced regulation between us, the OTT and the hyperscaler. But also in that area, something is moving ahead. We are discussing about fair share, but what's happening is that it's important to have a balanced regulation. So no more rules for everybody, but less rules for everybody, exactly as happened for the OTTs.
Okay, thank you. So, Diego, on this point, the discussion is quite often, if telecom consolidation happens, what's the impact for infrastructures, for telecom infrastructure? I think we all know that Europe is in late in terms of investments. There is, depending on these reports, but about 200 billion euro shortfall in investments. There is a need to speed up in terms of reducing this digital divide. So do you think it is fair to argue that if consolidation happens in the telecom sector, then we may have a new round of investments in order to improve the quality of these networks?
Yeah, buongiorno. I think actually the starting point is that Europe and even more Italy needs a dramatic acceleration on investments. For what Pietro said before, in the last years there has been underinvestments on mobile for sure. Italy on the GSMA reports ranks 29th in terms of 5G infrastructure score. We are in the G7, but we are in position 29th in terms of 5G. And data consumption keep on growing. We expect to double by 2030, and we will see what is the impact of artificial intelligence on all that. So there is need for more infrastructure in urban areas for capacity. The 20% of the highest traffic towers will need to be densified. There is need of densification in suburban areas. 5G penetration will create the need of further densification, and there is need to improve connectivity on the rail and road corridors, where already today the quality is not appropriate and there is further and dramatic room for improvement. Now, consolidation is clearly a central theme for debate to, I think, in the logic of increasing the scale of operators and improving the return of the industry. I think consolidation should be, how can I say, a mean, not an end. Should be a mean to allow a better market structure and to allow proper return on the investments, triggering the positive cycle of more investments, more quality, more innovation, more differentiation, and honestly, fundamentally, better market dynamics, better market context, and better revenue dynamics. So the positive cycle from innovation to better revenue dynamics. In this context, I think that the infrastructure players and the neutral players have to continue to create efficiency, be a source of efficiency to support the operators to deploy in an efficient manner the new cycle investment, creating value to be shared from all parties, value through specialization, industrial capability and specialization, faster go-to-market, lower cost per unit, sharing economics, supporting more co-tenancy on the same infrastructure, and also lower cost of capital to allow the operators also to free up resources or better to invest capital where the telco operators, through innovation, can get the highest return on the investment, highest return on capital. So I think consolidation is really a mean for more further consolidation, is a mean for more investments and bringing back the market in the industry to proper returns.
Okay.
If I may also to connect in dots, oversimplify what Diego told. To be very, very clear, today we have in Italy an ARPU that is below 10 euro. On average, the amount of giga that are in the plan that all of you are buying from the market are at least 100 giga. The average consumption is 36 giga. So, if I give to Diego further money to put further antennas, the issue is that they have zero ARPU increase. And if I have zero ARPU increase, it will be difficult that we will activate a virtuous circle. So the consolidation is a must because today, in the balance sheet of the service co, you don't have room to finance further network increase. So the risk is that if we don't allow consolidation, it's a fight between us trying to get some efficiency one from the other, but sooner or later it will be a failure of the market. And today, following what Lamer was saying, is that it's not only an issue about the telco player, because the telecommunication today are becoming an important element for the digital development of the country. So sometimes when we talk about consolidation, someone is arguing that it's just a matter, a financial matter to give the opportunity to the company to pay the dividend. First of all, we have to remember to everybody that being in a market with companies that are listed, if we don't generate dividend or net profit, the company will not find the funding to compete. But today, we are not in this shape. Today, the overall industry is not making money. So it's important to the consolidation and the change of the rules, because if not, the service co will not invest or will not ask investment to the netco, let me say, because will not find a financial and economical reason to do that. This is the truth. It's very easy, the equation.
So for Federico, my next question is, Cellnex has a multi-country exposure. So you have been already indirectly involved by consolidation in the sector. My question for you is, do you have seen any change in the approach for telecom operators in the countries where we had consolidation happening?
Yeah. Thank you, Fabio, and good afternoon, everybody. So, well, why we need to go, and in some countries it already happens, consolidation, I believe that both Pietro and Diego explained at length. Just one remark, because also when talking about consolidation, this is not very popular to the antitrust regulation. In this case, what we are talking about is actually not necessarily going and lowering the number of players to the final customers. Here we're talking about investments. Here we're talking about the network. Here we're talking about the capex. Basically, what we need to have is actually the consolidation in the networks, because only when you consolidate the network, I'm not the one who can say anything interesting about the final customer, but probably on the infrastructure I can. And when talking about investment, the main investments are coming from the network, from the physical network, from the infrastructure. And this is there where we have to, look at Italy. Italy, we have 4 networks, basically, okay? Can the market sustain investments, parallel investments on 4 networks? Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And in other countries like us in terms of size, and even with a higher ARPU like the UK, what happened is that the regulator allowed the merger in between Vodafone and Three without asking for having a 4th entrant to come. But just, and this is very important, it's super important, just asking for some, let's say, commitment of further investment of the merged entity, not of the 2 separate. And this is basically, in my understanding, very interesting. Unfortunately, I would say UK is not any longer in EU, but I believe that our European antitrust should look at what happened in the UK very, very seriously, because in my understanding, that is the answer. What happened in Spain with Zegona taking over Vodafone Spain, that merger was mainly related to efficiency. What they're doing is a big efficiency exercise in Spain. So there, I actually have some more doubts. Coming to your question, Fabio, the point is, if these consolidations, of course, there are some rumors on the market regarding the contracts. Okay, but I do not want to comment on those because, honestly speaking, this is not something really grounded on facts. It's just, some rumors or gossip. Okay, I'm talking about the MSAs with for example, the tower companies. The point is, looking at what is happening, if resources from these synergies or joint investment is able to free up resources, this is going into the direction of further densification, as Diego was mentioning before, in suburban areas or rural areas, which at the moment are not covered, and basically an overall increase in the development of service. Also because in the end, the ServCo, if they have all the money dedicated to the capex for infrastructure, they cannot develop on innovative services in the end. And this is, if you want, the flip side of the coin. On one hand, we are not investing in some areas because the ARPU is not growing. On the other hand, we do not have the money to develop new services and therefore compete, for example, with hyperscalers.
Okay, thank you. Pietro, Federico was mentioning consolidation also in Italy, so what's going on here? Do you think there are concrete talks as we speak? Do you think something may happen in the coming months, or it's still too early to call for consolidation? And finally, again, coming back to what Federico was saying, what is your view on the regulator side? So what could the regulator ask?
So, about regulation, what is happening is that before in Italy, we will understand something quite soon, because what's already happened in UK, because this is not a good example for Europe. What I mean, once UK exit from EU, they were able to solve a lot of issues, because they not only did the merge, but in the meantime, they started to discuss about net neutrality and fair share. And this is very important, because I spent 2.5 billion euro for frequency 5G, and the 5G is the best frequency to use differentiation of quality, but due to the net neutrality, I cannot. So, UK exit from EU, and they started to do exactly the contrary that EU is obliging to. In the meantime, we will have also the XAM of France and Spain. So, if what will happen with SFR in France and in Spain will be very, I think that also based on the weight of the French government inside the EU, really a game changer in the regulation. So I think I'm quite optimistic that something will happen and they will not oblige to do something strange. Then it's also important to understand the way in which some M&A will happen. Just to give you an idea, in case of an acquisition of team of Iliad Italy, you don't have to go to the European level. Not because we will do that, but just to give you an idea in how the rules change. And if we go at the Italian level, looking at the declaration of the Italian government related to the need to move from 4 to 3, I should be quite optimistic. So there's something that is happening. Then we can talk about consolidation in two different ways. One is ready to emerge between two companies, or the acquisition of a company by the other. But you have also other way to do efficiency that is at network level, independently from the tower, because there are two and one, they can beat me a lot. If you put together the frequencies, you have a spectrum efficiency that allow us to carry on data with the unitary cost that is much lower. So less CapEx and less OpEx. Today, when you look at the synergy related to the merger, everybody show the industrial synergy. No one talk about the ARPU. So, in theory, also without a merge, tomorrow I can start to discuss with Fastweb, Vodafone, or with WID to try to find some synergy, putting together the frequencies, working on some other aspects. So something will happen, because none of us can stay with a balance sheet like the one that we have today. So this is very important. Then you have to start to understand which is the level of market share that allow you to be sustainable in the medium long term. So sometimes in some study they say that to be profitable on the mobile, you must have at least 25% market share. Without 25% market share, a mobile network is not sustainable. But the 25 is related also to the level of ARPU. Because at zero ARPU, 25 doesn't work. So if we are the country with the lowest ARPU on mobile, I think that it's a must to proceed with some merger And it's difficult to be sustainable in the medium long term on a standalone basis.
Okay.
Va bene?
In some way you managed to answer the question. In some way. So, Diego, moving on to, let's say, integrated outdoor and indoor connectivity, smart city projects. What's going on in this space? How can enhanced indoor coverage and smart infra solutions contribute to the success of smart city?
Yeah.
There is a Rome sample, so leave it to you.
Yeah, easier topic, though interesting, because actually the 80% of mobile traffic happens in indoor locations, and as even more than the outdoor, the indoor infrastructure has been underinvested, because to have returns on the indoor connectivity is even harder. And the 5G and the higher frequencies have a performance which is much better, but they have a lower ability to penetrate the walls. So being able to be connected in indoor locations is getting even more difficult than in the past. And at the opposite, connectivity is important also because there are additional services that all of us use in indoor location, from payments to authentication. So that's an important additional area for investments and for development. And tower companies, and Inuit has developed actually from tower company also to indoor coverage solution through the DAS technology, so distributed antenna systems. Today we have almost 600 locations with DAS technology. It's one infrastructure. There is the network node brought to the building, to the location via fiber, and then within the location an integrated system of antennas brought by the neutral host, and the operators bring the frequencies and bring connectivity to all of us. Is another case of consolidation somehow, because within the infrastructure, within the building, there is just one infrastructure. Is locations such as hospitals, shopping malls, hotels, headquarters, as well as transport infrastructure. The metro is a typical example. The metro in Milan from the airport to the center, or now the metro in Rome is 60 kilometers of metro. Is a significant investment. Requires 250 kilometers of fiber, almost 3,000 antennas within the infrastructure. It is one infrastructure which is available and used by all the operators, and is also in partnership with the municipalities, so there is public contribution which reduced the overall cost of ownership, and is a value which is spread from between all players. And the metro in Rome is part of an overall project, which is not only the metro, but is also better coverage in 100 squares, so the main squares in Rome, coverage with and connectivity with also public Wi-Fi, IoT, video, 2,000 cameras, and small cell were available to complement the outdoor coverage in dedicated location. So I think it's a good example where there is some public contribution and collaboration between all players in the market to reduce the cost of ownership and to provide a service to people, to visitors, to tourists, and to companies, and provides a layer of infrastructure upon which then the operators can gradually develop services, again, for companies and consumers.
Thank you. Now, Federico, on this kind of same topic, we quite often discuss with the market about the options left for tower costs to increase or sustain top-line growth. What is your view on this? Do you think there are adjacent businesses where optionality could be explored? I'm referring to active equipment, data center, cooperation with energy players.
Yeah. Well, besides to what Diego's just said, there are other areas where a tower company could extract value. I would say, first of all, extract value from where? From the fact that, for example, in Italy, and in which likewise we have 22,000 sites, in France 26,000 22,000 sites. Okay, these sites are spread all over the territory, and they are basically very interesting for a bunch of things. First of all, then I'm coming also to the active portion, which is a little bit more delicate, but just focusing on the sites. Well, first of all, energy. What we, besides optimizing the energy consumption there by placing solar panels, okay, bread and butter. Not very difficult, not very interesting. But what is even more interesting, you remember what happened in Spain 3 weeks ago, the big blackout. Why that happened was not very clear, is not very clear yet, and probably will not. But one thing it was clear, that in order to manage, I'm not an expert, but in order to manage an electricity grid network, you need to have a balance between the offer of energy and the demand. Unlike telecommunication, telecommunication is totally different. You have to have this imbalance. And when something happens, a solar panel, a solar plant went down, this is what probably happened, okay, then this balance is not there any longer. So you need to have something in between the offer and the demand that to a certain extent is balancing this. And these are batteries. Okay, what we are studying and doing is using our 22,000 sites and 100 and something thousand in Europe in order to put batteries and have this sort of decoupling in between, because batteries are the only way to do that. At the moment, batteries are already there in order, of course, to provide service to active equipment, to MNOs, in case of power failure, fine. But if we simply make these batteries a little bit more resilient, bigger, basically, they can play a very interesting role. And we are discussing, of course, in Spain, because they had the emergency, but also in Italy, in order to make sure that, on one hand, in Italy doesn't happen, well, actually it happened. It was 2003, probably we remember this, but it doesn't happen what happened in Spain. And of course, in Spain, it doesn't happen again. Very quickly on data centers. American towers, I believe they're the biggest tower operator in the world, Americans as the name says, they invested in data center. And they put a lot of money there. They're making some money there, but do you know which is the level of synergy that they're making with towers? Almost zero. So basically with big data centers, we don't see big synergies. At least this is what we as Cellnex, what we can say, on the other hand, is edge computing, edge data centers, yes. Coming back to the 22,000 locations that we have in the countries. And finally, on active equipment. This is very important. We're having some experience there in Poland. In Poland, we are managing both passive and active equipment for two MNOs there, Polkomtel and Play. Play is Iliad, the Iliad name in Poland. And basically, this is a very interesting experience, a sort of RANCO, as we have the NetCo or the FiberCop. FiberCop is the NetCo in Italy, okay? In Poland, we have the RANCO. Besides this horrible word, is basically the NetCo for the mobile. Basically. And we are working on this and it works. And in my opinion, this is one of the answers of sharing infrastructure and freeing up resources for investing in other activities.
Okay, thank you. Now we are left with just a few minutes, something company specific. First for Pietro. You had big changes in the corporate governance, new shareholders entering the equity story. Yesterday and today, the focus was on trying to better understanding what's going on between you and Poste. Which are the synergies? Is there something you can already tell us on this?
Yeah, sure. The first synergy is what you can experience on the value of our stock. Less than 2 months ago, when there was Vivendi, the value of the stock was 29 cents. After the arrival of Poste, we moved to 39, and the number is exactly the same. We didn't change a comma, so it is clear that the fact that Vivendi wasn't acting as a shareholder, because it was something that they declared, was an overhang on the value of the stock. Now, the second synergy, that is a commercial agreement, is related to the MVNO contract. So we offset the risk of the move of Fastweb and Vodafone together from our network. And then we are in talk with Poste to try to understand further synergy. An area on which, with Poste, we can further accelerate is the enterprise segment. I think that all of you, on a daily basis, are experiencing how the geopolitical environment is becoming more and more complex. In such a market, sovereign cloud is becoming the new word, the new claim. So, and having Poste as a shareholder and doing some activity with them, it's clear the team that is already with the PSN, the only sovereign cloud in Europe, can further accelerate from public administration to the private sector all these activities. Then on the consumer side, there are several areas on which we can work. We always declare that we want to become a customer platform, and so we'll put at disposal our customer base, and we can sell services of Poste as energy or financial services to our customer base. Why it is important? Because it allows us to have two different synergy and opportunity. The first one is that we optimize our cost base, because today we have shops, we have salespeople, we have the bill, we have the call center. If we use the same amount of things for a larger bulk of services and revenue, is a cost efficiency for sure. The second, we are experiencing, differently from what is declared by other players, that if I sell further things to our customer base, the churn is reduced. So this is a way to avoid the competition based only on price. These are the main things on which we are working, but the best is yet to come.
Okay, thank you. So Diego, I think the strategy of INWIT is very clear, supporting countries' digitalization. There is a quite appealing shareholders remuneration also in place. What is left on top of this? Could you consider entering new businesses, more AI related, or could you explore options outside Italy eventually?
Yeah, for our company to grow, there are two options, either geographically or focusing on extending on the core and extending the kind of services. Our preference, our decision, our preference is to focus on the domestic market, because we think that industrial value and synergies are created within the market. And therefore, that has been our strategy so far. We continue to be focused on the domestic market, clearly on the core. We discuss about additional densification, which is needed very clearly, is our core, happy to support outdoor, indoor densification. We invest on land acquisition and to make the infrastructure more resilient. We started to invest on solar panels for medium size to create efficiency also there. In terms of extension, we think that playing a role from an industrial point of view in the sharing of the RAN is a potential extension to assess, and we are very happy to eventually support the industry in the market on that field. Edge data center, when the computing capacity will be needed at the edge of the network, happy to play a role also there as a neutral host to provide passive infrastructure to telco and the other players. So keep on focus on industrial synergies value, mostly on the core, and gradual extension to the core in the domestic market.
Thank you. Last for you, Federico. So clearly Cellnex is now less leveraged company, secured investment grade, completed recently 800 million euro buyback. Now we have read about the potential sales in Swiss and France. Any update on this? And also, what is, in your view, the role Cellnex could play in the European towerco space?
Yeah, well, first of all, when talking about pan-European players, I would say that Cellnex is the only real pan-European pan-European player. As you mentioned, we have initiated and implemented a very strict activity on the financial side in order to deleverage the company. Come on, we're still talking about more than 6 times our EBITDA. So we are deleveraging, but we were coming from 8, and now we are at slightly below 7, but still very high. But nevertheless, we have disposed Austria, we have disposed Ireland. We are in the process to dispose Switzerland and the data centers in France, in order to focus on core countries and also make sure that also on core activities. I mentioned data centers before. With this leaner, if you want, financial structure, we believe that we can play a role in innovative services, and to certain extent, because in the end, if we are excluding the Indian market, Cellnex is the second. First is American Towers. Cellnex is the second operators of tower in the world, and this is something that we probably as Europeans should be really proud of. And with the resources that we are freeing up, financial resources, I mean, reducing the interest on debt, this is basically the way. We can invest more. We are investing on land acquisitions as well. And I would say that Italy is one of the most interesting countries in this. Also because the IRR on land investment is accretive towards our multiple. Because we have an IRR of normally in between 12 and 13%, which is higher than what we have. And so this is still a very good kind of investment that we are making, besides giving very good service to our customers, because when the site is secured, they will be there forever. They can be there forever. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. So with this, our roundtable is concluded. Many thanks, Pietro, Labriola, Diego Galli, Federico Protto.
Thank you.
As this was the last roundtable for today and this year conference, many thanks for your attention.
Thank you.